G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, we're going to be starting in the air because there's a lot of dead space in this video, and I'd like to fill that with conversation that would otherwise go in the sort of climbing process. But for now, this is the Piotrmirski, and I think I've pronounced it correctly. But a lot of people in the comments of the last PM1 video, I suppose, they said a lot of interesting things about this plane, such as the prop efficiency, the construction being wooden, and the, pros and cons of that. Honestly, I get so much interesting information, especially recently. I've gotten so much interesting stuff from you guys in the comments, because you all just have such a wealth of knowledge that I only wish I could just dream of it, and that's about it. But for me, the PM1 is a special plane, and it is really interesting. It's a great plane, it's a gorgeous looking plane, it flies well for now. It's really, really powerful for its matchmaking. It's just a straightforward, easy plane to fly. And that's what I like about it. So, what I've done here is I've used this insane climb rate to climb up pretty nice and high. And now what I'm going to do is help out this Halifax, because I did say a couple of videos ago that I'd like to make more videos focusing on my teamwork, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. You can see here, I want this Halifax to survive, and so I'm going to go below the I-185 just to make use of the spotting system. And also, if he wants to, turn around like that, it makes him an easy shot exactly like that. I managed to get a critical hit onto him, and I managed to, I believe, damage his oil and damage his wing. That's really big in an I-185 because whilst you do rely on your speed, it is a plane that doesn't like getting its wings damaged much. It's one of those things, kind of like a Bf-109 in that respect. But that's not really, nothing major. He's not really going down, and we have other targets to focus on. You can see there is a Yak 9 below me and a Yak 3 in front of me. Now the Yak 3 in front of me we're going to see a little bit more later. He's actually not that bad a pilot, but at the same time, he's a bit of a specimen, to be honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and chase this Yak down, and I can see him there. I'm not going for the Yak 9 because I know that if I turn around for the Yak, I'm going to get cleaned up by the Yak 3. So the Yak 3 dives underneath because he knows that I'm not going to do that because he's a smart player and he can read smart players well. I'm going to go vertical now, because the PM1 has a really good sort of flip over time, if you will. It flips over quite readily, and he's going to sort of get caught out here because the PM1 does well at high altitude. It's powered by a German engine, and the Germans love their high altitude performance. In fact, I remember hearing somewhere that the Russians were a lot better at low altitude performance, and so the Germans were ordered by their higher ups to not engage. I think it was below 6,000 meters. I think that's a bit extreme, and I'm not sure how true that is. Maybe you can let me know in the comments with your wealth of information. I absolutely love learning new things from you guys, and it's fantastic. Keep it up. I really, really love it. So, this Yak 9 looks like he's in a little bit of a pickle. He's got a Spitfire behind him, and I'm going to do something that's, a little bit questionable in my opinion. I go for him. I engage him. And should I have done that? Should the Spitfire have maybe taken that? Because, he on one hand did work hard for that. And I think I might be in the wrong here where I shouldn't have gone for him. But regardless, I go for him, I set him on fire, and it looks like that fire is not going to go out. I do end up getting the kill for that. Maybe I should have given it to the Spitfire, because it is extremely frustrating flying Spitfires and having such garbage armament like 7.7s and the absolutely awful Hispano 20mm cannons. But no time for that. I'm going to engage a PE3. This PE3 damages my engine or my oil, and that makes me upset. But I managed to set him on fire in 2 places, and if you set a plane on fire in 2 places, the chances that they'll put it out are, well, twice as less. So, getting more fires is better. Obviously, 1 fire, if that's all you can do, is good enough. So, I'm going to try and set a fire on this Yak 3. And you can see he's gone up vertical for me, but the sort of flip over time, I don't really know what to call it, but the flip over time is really, really short on the PM1. It might just be because of its ability to sort of prop hang with that 90% prop efficiency, which I'm told isn't exactly, how it should be, which means that I'd like it fixed. And then as a result, it would perform somewhere between a BF109F and a BF109G. So, I'm going to be interested. I'd really, really like to see that happen. I'd also like to see the damn datasheet come out for that on the forums. That hasn't been released yet, so maybe they're still working on the flight model. Anyway, the Yak 3 does what Yak 3s do, and he puts the fire out. I don't really know why that happens, but he's basically a glorified glider now, because he has no engine. And as a result, he's a very easy kill. So I've managed to, put in this sort of energy fighting style in the PM1, and I've managed to get a couple of good kills out of it. So I'm going to return back to base, and the spotting system is going to give me a bit of a yikes. Well, it's not really that bad because it's a couple of kilometers behind me, and I finally spot him. There he is, Yak 9, looking straight at me. So despite the oil leak and with the mosquito around me, I'm going to go and engage this guy. I really don't want to maybe commit to a head-on. That's a bit of a no-no. It seems like he's turning away from the mosquito and doesn't quite see me. He does see me now, and he's turning into me at the last second, so I'm going to put a couple of shots near him. I miss, but I'm going to use that quick sort of flip over time, if you will, to try and get the reversal in a vertical. And at altitude, the Yak really isn't going to do much, and I managed to set a fire. There seems to be some sort of common theme with Russian planes and fires. They just seem to love getting set on fire, and I guess that's why no one really plays them. I did forget to mention also, this is a Finnish plane, and it is on roughly the 80th anniversary of the Winter War. The Winter War 80 years ago started, about this time of year. Maybe, I think there's a few days. Someone let me know in the comments. Again, wealth of information. I absolutely love it. Anyway, the Yak 3 from earlier has come back, and I've gone and rearmed and repaired, got rid of that oil leak, and I'm going to go and climb. I'm going to climb for a little bit, but at speed, because I need that speed for combat. You see, it's not always the best to climb at, say, 300 kilometers per hour or 250 or whatever your climb rate or your climbing speed is best at, because sometimes you might need a little bit of extra speed to quickly transition from climbing mode into combat mode. Sometimes you turn better at higher speeds, so, in some cases, you'll do better around 350 kilometers an hour. A classic example that I like to bring up is the MiG-19 PT. You see, the PT likes to turn reasonably well at about 1,000 to 1,100 kilometers per hour. It stops being able to turn well below 1,000 and up to about 750. And then from 750 and below, it turns quite well. And then at the very, very low speeds, like 300 to 0, I guess, it turns extremely poorly, and increasingly so as you go down to 0. And that is what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get that little sweet spot where I can turn well. And for the PM1, it's about 350. It seems to be about 350 for most props of this era anyway. Things like the P51D is, it's a little bit higher. It's like 400, 430. The BF109 G2, clear example. Best turn speed is around 350 kilometers per hour. These things all have a sort of similar theme to them, a similar best speed, worst speed. And with the PM1, it's more about using your altitude and using that, diving capability and the turning capability. And with the Yak 3 in this case, he's going to have to run. He's also climbing a little bit, so he's going slowly to an altitude that favors him less and less. But the PM1 is also extremely slow. It's not quite a Yak. The Yak can outrun it in some cases, and I believe this Yak is a little bit better at slightly higher altitudes, sort of like 3,000, 4,000 meters. Again, correct me in the comments if I got it wrong. But you can see the Yak is pulling away from me, and what I need to do is try and maybe get some crits. The two guns that are put on this plane, the MG151 and the M250 cal, or the license-built version of the M250 cal, in my opinion, best guns in the entire game for props. Period. Without a shred of a doubt, for me, the MG151 does the damage. It doesn't really have the rate of fire or the velocity, but it does the damage when you hit. And to make up for that lack of velocity, you have the 50 cals. They have insane range. They have really, really barely any damage drop off up to 1,000 meters, and they just do so well. They just have that sort of straight line trajectory that is so easy to aim. And with two guns that are mounted above the fuselage there, traditionally where you get the two, I believe they're MG17s, there's some sort of 7.62 or 7.92 that the Germans used on top of their Bf-109s, all the way up to the G2 in the game, that is. So, whilst I'm climbing, this Yak-3 leads me to the I-185 from earlier. Now, he's also gone back to base and rearmed and repaired, so I've got to be careful. The I-185 is a lot faster than me, especially, or even at altitude, I would say, but it doesn't turn nearly as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn twice and then go for the third time. You can do this with a plane that's reasonably maneuverable, and then I'm going to bait him up into a vertical and then go for a split S, which is exactly what I'm doing. The Yak-3 is going to come back though, and he's going to try and tap me in the booty before I can get some shots onto this guy. So I don't really take too many chances. I get a quick shot, see if I can land anything, and I don't. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow the I-185 into a spiral and set him on fire. Is that fire going to go out? Well, we'll see in a little bit. But I could have myself some decent kills and, a decent number of kills here. I believe it's 4. This could potentially be my ace. And with the Yak-3, that could potentially be 6 kills. So the Yak-3 is going to, run away. He's going to be this guy. And he's doing it inverted for some reason. And I'm not quite sure why. But regardless, the I-185, oh, there he is, looking at me from behind because, I'm blind. I don't think I can put that to the spotting system. So I'm going to cut into his turn, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to try and make him commit to a rolling scissors, because if he can get to a low speed, the I-185 is really, really easy pickings for me, or you can see those 50 cals, and you're wondering where they're coming from. It's from a bloody B-25. And the I-185 J's out. A B-25. You know what? I'm not even mad. I baited for a teammate. And I got an assist. I'm on 4 kills. And yes, that would have been my ace. But there's a big, fat, juicy year too. Look at him. Very, very juicy indeed. And I'm going to make him commit return to hangar as well. It looks like he's slow and low. And that is exactly where you don't want to be as a bomber. And I... Let's not talk about that. In fact, you know what? I should have edited that out because I could have just done it with the glory of post-commentary, but it doesn't really matter because you can see that I make mistakes too. Anyway, I'm trying to aim for the pilot here, and I'm trying to sort of aim through the fuselage and through the engine if I can, because that way I can, try and string something together. I'm going to hit something. I'm going to try and maybe hit the wing root, hit the engine, and there we go. I end up hitting the pilot. And guess who's coming back? Yes, it's our little Yak-3 friend who's going to come back yet again for a little bit more fun. Except he isn't really. He's going to try and wait for me to put myself in a crappy position. But I know better than that. And what I'm going to do instead is go for a loop. And that's going to open him up to the Halifax. So I'm sorry, Mr. Halifax. I didn't mean for you to die. But, it was either me or the Halifax, I suppose, if you think about it. And I didn't really want to put myself in a massive risk. Do help out your teammates. Do a lot for your teammates. But don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to lose your plane. Try very hard to not lose that plane. Because otherwise, having you in the fight is valuable. Even if you're not a good player, having you in the fight is extremely valuable. Do you know what else is extremely valuable? If a player like that one runs... and it turns out he's played like 6,000 games in the Yak-3. He's not terribly great at it, and he's just going to keep running. So, you know what? Screw him. I'm going to take the victory off him, and I don't care if I have to strafe ground targets for that. These ground targets were introduced 2-3 years ago, something like that, and honestly, it's the best change to ARB that has ever happened, period. Because if you have a space climbing bomber... having to chase that away and having to chase that all game, or having someone that runs to space and someone that runs to their airfield, they can't run from something that I guess they can't run from tickets. They can't run from their bleeding tickets. And this is exactly what they do. They're just vehicles you can strafe at the 40-minute mark of the game. They'll appear roughly towards the enemy side of the map, and you just strafe them. and it'll take away up to, I believe, a third of the enemy's tickets from that bar, which is really, really handy if you have someone that's playing cancerously. And it's really, really refreshing, and it is a good thing to see in the game. So, this is basically how I'm going to end the match. I'm going to win by any means necessary because I don't want this guy to win. Because I think my team did a good job, and I think I did a good enough job to deserve that victory. And so, as a competitive person, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, it's not really terribly interesting footage, but at least I have something to talk over. For those of you that have continued to watch to the end of the video, there is a Q&A in the community section. I will link it below in the description, and you can ask me any question that you'd like. Do make sure that you upvote any question you want to see, and if there are any repeat questions, it sort of hampers my ability to, I guess, figure out what's the most interesting question that people are really dying to know. If you do, I'd much appreciate it. If you just upvote a comment, I'd much appreciate that too. Any interaction is, I love it. It's great. I love you guys. And the channel has been doing absolutely fantastically in the last month because of the sort of December rush. Everyone's just sort of watching YouTube videos now. Everyone's maybe finished with school, maybe finishing up with exams. So good luck to everyone who's doing that, I suppose. And I hope you enjoy my content. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. Regardless, if you want to pick up the PM1, I would actually recommend it, to be honest. As it stands in its current state, it is really, really strong. You can just sort of relax, and it is almost my go-to plane to relax. It's just absolutely great. So much so that I have a perfect win rate in it. I've played about 6 or 7 games, and I have 22 kills. And I have a 100% win rate. So, it's insane. But anyway, ladies and gents, if you want to be insane, take care, and I'll catch you next time.